Alright, we're here for the next video in this series for this Apple iPhone 6 glass only repair. So we've got our display here. We're using a LOCA mold, this orange thing. I use this better than free-handing a piece of glass on. It lines it up nice and perfect. I would suggest using this. We're going to use some glue. This is liquid optical clear adhesive, or LOCA. I believe this is X Factor, extra sticky. That'll help it not run into the backlight as well if it's nice and thick. And something that you have to worry about when you're doing this repair is this glue running in the backlight. You don't want to use too much. So I did an elongated X, which is normally what I use on this style of display. Now when you've cleaned your display, you want to make sure it's dust free. It's okay to have streaking from using isopropyl alcohol. Just make sure no dust is in there. The streaking will go away when the glass is laid flat, and it gives it kind of that wet look with all the LOCA spread out. So don't worry about the streaks, but definitely worry about dust or particles. Those will look like dead pixels when it's finished if you don't remove those. Now, like I was saying, this orange mold, this LOCA mold, you can get it for a couple of bucks, $6. Definitely helps it remain straight. With a thinner bezel phone, it's really important to have, like this one. It has a thin bezel. If you don't line up the display correctly, you can get the frame, or you can get the plastic housing not fit back on. So my easiest way to do this is to take the glass, put the bottom on first, and then take a nylon spudger and hold it up. Now you need to do this slowly. You want the bottom to hit first, and then for the LOCA to kind of work its way up towards the top. If the bottom touches and then the top touches and they meet in the middle, you're going to get bubbles. Bubbles can be a little bit tricky to get out, but it's not the end of the world if you do get one. I'll show you how to remove those as well. We're just setting the display down nice and slowly, waiting for it to touch down here at the bottom. Now, like I was saying, the majority of this glass only repairs is it takes patience. That's one of the key things you have to have. So go nice and slow. This portion takes a little bit of a steady hand. Now that it's down here at the bottom, I'm going to twist my nylon spudger so the flat portion, kind of like the flathead screwdriver portion, will slowly let the screen fall onto the glue. You see where it's touched now? So it's going to just take its time. I want it to slowly move its way up to the right hand side of the screen. You can see that the other corner down here is touched as well. Now, normally when they meet together, you want them to start kind of in the center and work its way out. Make sure there's no bubbles. When they meet like this, it can also form bubbles as well. A lot of people say don't press on it, but you can use it to kind of direct it correctly. Just don't put a ton of pressure or force onto it. So we're just taking our time, let it go nice and slow, still slowly pulling the nylon spudger out. So this LOCA mold is a little tight. The glass doesn't want to sit down completely on it, so I may have to press it into place. I'm going to use my spudger here and just try to get it to work its way up. You can see when I let go with a little bit of pressure, it kind of sucks back in. That's okay. This corner up here doesn't want to snap in. It can be a little bit tricky to not get bubbles when this happens. It'll eventually just kind of fall on top, which is what you don't want to have happen, like right there. I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's a couple of bubbles in here. What you can do is you can take your fingers, press against the back of the display, and use your thumbs on the front of the display, and you can kind of work them out. You can press against it to squeeze the LOCA into the correct spot. You can use your fingers to kind of push the bubble out towards the edge. The goal is to get them towards the edge of the phone. If you can get them basically pushed out towards the end of the LOCA, sometimes they'll just disappear. So just use your thumb and your forefinger or your index finger to kind of just direct the bubble towards the edge of the phone or to the corners. So now we're just pushing the LOCA out towards the phone. You want to get it all solid. You don't want any LOCA to recede back in. It can take a few seconds. It's a little bit thicker, so you may have to push it out. I like to kind of think it of the consistency of Caro syrup. So just pushing, you can see a better view here. You can see that it's like kind of that gray or where it's not fed out onto the screen. Just kind of direct it a little bit with your fingers. Now once we get this all spread out, we'll use our ultraviolet light. I just use a gel nail salon UV light, same thing you'd use for curing basically nail polish on nails. I've seen some people use a UV flashlight. I haven't had a ton of luck with that. I'd rather use a full UV light. You can see it's kind of sucking back away from the display here in the corners. So what you can do is just use your fingers and slide the glue from the middle towards the edge. Just kind of use your fingers and your thumb, just press it into the correct spot. Now once you get a nice solid look, you don't see any glue receding back, there's no bubbles in there, you can go ahead and use the UV light. Now if you have a ton of bubbles and you messed up, feel free, pull the glass back off, take some of those microfiber cloths, clean the display off, use some isopropyl alcohol and clean it again and do it over again. That way it's not a one-shot deal here. You want to make sure that before you use the UV light that you have it exactly the way you want it. Once you use the UV light on the display, there's really no getting it back off. They use, when they make these, an optical clear adhesive, not a liquid. So the liquid is much more difficult to remove this LCD from without breaking it. So here's my UV light. You can see it's the same thing you'd use for gel nails. It comes with 4 UV lights. This stuff will cure pretty quick. The whole point of using this light is that the glue will solidify. You can see it turned on here. So we'll put it under here for a little bit of time. It doesn't have to stay under here forever. But make sure that, like I was saying, that it's exactly the way you want it before you slide it in. Make sure all the locos spread out across the display. Alright, so we'll just go ahead and flip it. Now this will only cure the glue where the light can hit it. So don't flip the mold over. You want to make sure that it's face up. If you flip it over, your piece of glass could adhere itself into the LOCA mold, which will be really tricky to get out. So we've cured it enough at this point. We can go ahead and just set this aside. Now if you've used too much glue, it's seeping out the edges and the sides, you may have to use a little bit of heat and maybe a razor blade to get it removed, cut through it. This one's in there pretty good, more or less just because the LOCA mold is a little small. So I'm going to use my spudger, see if it can help me get it out. I'm just pressing up on the sides, being gentle when I do it. I'm not putting a ton of force on it. Using my spudge, you can see the corner starting to come up. Now I'll work my way around that corner there. Start to press it out. Perfect. Now you will have some residual adhesive around the sides of the device here. I'll take my nylon spudge. You can see how much is kind of built up around the side. Just go ahead and scrape all of this off. Then we're going to take some isopropyl alcohol and a microfiber cloth and just clean in here. You want to get this as clean as possible. Do it a few times. You might see some black on your rag, and that's fine. The back coating from the backlight kind of comes off a little bit. Just don't rub a ton on it. Now the goal here is you want to get this nice and clean because you'll need to put your plastic frame back on. And LOCA will not stick to adhesive, and the way the frame sticks on is with 3M double-sided tape. So pull this ribbon cable back, and you want to get as much of the glue from underneath this as possible. So you can see that I took this ribbon cable and I flipped it back underneath. You'll need to flip it forward to get the ribbon cable to lay back down flat. Taking my cloth here and just cleaning up as much as I possibly can. Now once you get all the corners cleaned up, you have it clean up as much as you can, throw it back underneath the UV light for a few seconds and let it sit on the back side here. That will actually make it solidify on the back so you don't get any leaking out and drizzling into your phone, which is always bad. A lot of times it's from this ribbon cable up here at the top. Some of the LOCA will sit underneath there and your phone gets really warm. It'll leak out and cause damage, so you want to be careful of that. I find that if I cure it back under the UV light for a little bit, it seems to stop that issue from happening. We're going to go ahead and test it here real fast and see if it's working properly for us. Sometimes it can be a little bit tricky to get on there. Go ahead and just power it on here. There you go. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and hit the like button. If you want to see the reassembly, I'll throw that down in the description. I'll tack on the addition of the plastic frame here real quick as well. A lot of issue with that. So the next thing we need to do is go ahead and put this plastic frame on. Let's go ahead and peel back the backing for the adhesive here. And this is what holds the phone into the frame. So go ahead and start here at the top. Make sure you stick the first two top corners in, nice and snug all the way towards the top, and work your way down the back. Now this can be a little bit tricky. It always wants to kind of bend in and attach itself to the backlight, so pull it out a little bit. Make sure you get it onto the actual glass as you move it down. Make sure it fits all the way down around the corners at the bottom of the phone. You can see right here it kind of attached to the side a little bit. And kind of roll it out just a tidbit. Perfect, and that is the replacement of the glass on this display. Just make sure you press it down nice and good. If you have any questions about the video, go ahead and throw them down in the comments. I'll do my best to respond to them as much as I possibly can. If you found the video useful, go ahead and hit the like button. If you want to see future videos of phone repairs, go ahead and subscribe to me. I do a few a month, and I try to get as many out there as possible. I always appreciate you watching the video, and I hope to see you on the next one.